So we'd like to welcome you out today to the LaunchUp event, and we'd like to thank our sponsors, Doba, Zappos, C7, Seed, Lieber Davis Morgan, and NorthFront BRC itself. And so if you haven't been to LaunchUp before, LaunchUp was created by Johnny Hanks, and it's a high energy pitch event where it's not just straight pitches, where we learn something and then we also hear a success story. So the first session is the AMP session. This is the motivated part of the presentation. And I got a lame joke here for you. I just looked up. So the entrepreneur's motto. If you haven't heard this before, I started out with nothing and still have most of it left. So that's 90% of us in the room, including me. But it doesn't apply to Brad. Brad is our amped up success, and he is going to give us 15 slides in 10 minutes right now with a little Q&A afterwards, explaining how he made himself a success as president of Monnet Corporation, which is corporate wireless sensor systems. So here we go. Are we ready? Yeah, ready? Forward back on the air.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Can you hear me? No? Test 1, 2, 3. Test. I guess I'm using that. Well, hello. As mentioned, I'm Brad Walters. I think I'm an entrepreneur, and that's why I'm here. How many here consider themselves an entrepreneur now, or have been? Okay, have been in the past, hope to be in the future. Okay, great. All of the above. Let me start out by telling you a little bit about who am I, okay? Like I said, I think I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't start that way. I had parents that were entrepreneurs, but my dad was a seasoned veteran from IBM, and I think a lot of people follow in their father's footsteps, and I did. Out of college, I went to IBM. I became a marketing rep. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I wore the blue suit, white shirt, short cropped hair, and I was you know, on an airplane Monday morning, back Wednesday, staff meeting Thursday morning, and I loved it. It was a great job. At about 25 years of age, I went into my manager halfway through the year. It was about the end of June, and I said, this is the best job I could ever imagine. I spent about half my time in training, and I've hit my quota for the year. What do I do, and how do I make more money? And he said, well, do you golf? And I said, yeah, thinking my boss is going to take me golfing. He said, well, go sharpen up your golf game and take your clients golfing because you've made as much money as you can this year. So at that point, I backed up and said, you know what? This corporate thing isn't for me. I need to be able to control my own destiny to a degree. So fortunately, there was an IBM executive who was leaving to a startup, and so I left and went to a company called LearnFrame, which was my indoctrination into a startup. I got some substantial stock. I was promoted to vice president of sales after about 6 months. We had a great time. But I also saw the scary, hairy, scarred up underbelly of entrepreneurism and startups. I won't go into detail, but I moved on. And I went to another company, and I got a great equity in this company. Okay, it was a husband and wife, weren't kind of getting along. They needed a business guy to come in. They said, we'll give you this chunk of the company, you come in. And it had this technology that it was really weird. I didn't get it. It was kind of like IBM. This is about, what, 95, 94, and it was a thing called Linux, and it was a thing for hackers, guys in their basement. It was Linux, whatever that meant. Well, everybody here know what Linux is now? Yeah, Linux is an operating system used by most servers in the world. At that time, it wasn't, but I didn't notice what that was, and the infighting between the husband and wife, I decided to move on. Didn't get any equity. That company ended up going public for hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I moved to a more stable startup out of the University of Utah. Same thing, saw a lot of different things. I was over sales marketing, a lot of fun. Great technology, but a very small market. I learned there that it doesn't matter how good your technology is, if your market's only this big, that's the customer base you're going to have. So I moved on. I went to work for a company that was another Linux company funded by a billionaire, Ray Norda, the founder of Novell. Again, I went in, head up sales, great stuff, kind of liked it, but I thought I was learning something, so I was able to see something in the future and was able to spin a startup out of that company called Lineo. Well, Lineo, we went from 4 of us to 450 in 9 months. We acquired 9 companies, raised $75 million in venture funding. Great. Filed for our IPO, our S1 got filed. I owned a pretty substantial part of that company, and the floor fell out of the economy. It was this 2000, okay? At which point I was asked to move to India, and that didn't go over very well, so I gracefully exited to another startup that was 2 engineers in a basement. Literally, 2 guys that they made their contract with Nutter Butters and Kool-Aid, they jokingly said. Well, we hunkered down and we really put our nose to the grindstone with MaxStream, and over a 6-year period we grew that from nothing to about 20 million in sales and sold the company to a publicly traded company in 2006. And that was a great success. Just over $40 million exit, $400,000 in. It was a good entrepreneurial venture. It was a long route to get there. After that, me and some of my buddies started a company. We wanted to do some fishing devices. We're still buddies, but that didn't turn out. So another buddy who was more of a business guy, we started a wireless thing. We were too much alike, so moved on, and I decided to start looking for other things to invest in. So I have a venture fund called Early Run Ventures, and over the course of the past 6 years, I've looked at over 1,200 business plans, and I've invested in 11, 3 of which are still going. So I don't have that good of a track record, if you will. But excuse me, sorry. I found a cool technology that we were able to do some licensing with. And then my latest venture is a company we've been running for about 3 years that's about break even. We're doing wireless sensors. But the end result is that we've had some success. We were named Inc. 500 a couple times. We've won some innovation awards for our products across these. And fortunately, myself and some founders of MaxStream were named Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young. I was then asked to be a judge for the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year competition, at which point I was able for 3 years to look at about 75 different businesses in this state that were starting to succeed. And it was interesting, the different things that I learned there. And through that process, and this process, I've come up with some nuggets of thought that I thought would be interesting to share. In wrap up, of these companies, 2 went IPO, 3 were acquired, 1 is a license deal, and then 5 are still going. So all of them are still in business today. So what is entrepreneurism? An entrepreneur, as you know, is an owner or manager of a business enterprise who makes money through risk and or initiative, okay? Makes money, okay? Why do we do that, though? Okay, I think number 1 for me is it provides us financial freedom. And that financial freedom gives us an opportunity to do things that we normally wouldn't do with our loved ones, with our friends, with our employees. For me, we like to raise horses. My kids love them. We have a lot of fun, and that's my hot button. And that's something I don't think I'd be able to do to the degree that we can. Secondly, it also provides an opportunity to do philanthropic efforts. I'm continually impressed with the number of billionaires, if you will, that commit to give their money back. Sure, they make enough, but how many of them are doing social entrepreneurism? I think that's a great trend, and I really applaud that. Let me move on. The term making money didn't exist until the early 1800s. Okay? Prior to that, it was feudalism. It was, I'm going to harvest the corn. I'm going to slaughter the pig. You know, that was sustenance. And then it was suddenly, I can make money. That is a true American concept. Okay? We can make money. I believe America is the place that is especially tuned for doing this, because we have 5% of the population, yet 25% of the commerce in the world. Along those lines, who could tell me the original, the origin of the dollar sign? Yeah. U.S. U.S. It's a U and an S. The 2 slashes from the U superimposed over an S. So that symbolic sign for making money, and money is truly an American feat. All right, moving along. More about the mind of the entrepreneurism. This is a long definition, but I'm going to paraphrase it. A master entrepreneur relies on effectual reasoning. What that means is an entrepreneur, they don't start with concrete goals in mind. Instead, they're constantly assessing how to use their personal strength and all of the resources that they have to develop goals on the fly while creatively reacting to contingencies. Okay? Entrepreneurs don't have the answers. We know where we want to go, but we continually modify how we're going to get there. I really like this definition. It contrasts that to corporate managers that use casual reasoning to set a goal and then just manage along the process. It's no wonder that entrepreneurs create more things than corporations. So what is that entrepreneurial leap? I would suggest that it is creating repeatable value. You hear oftentimes the term the value proposition. To me, that's as simple as somebody or some entity that has something that believes it's valuable, that will give you money or something in exchange for that. I would propose that there's two ways to create value. The first is through innovation. Okay? The second is through creating margin. As I define that, or as we've defined that, some of the innovations we've seen. Anybody know who this guy is? Huh? Anybody? Davis High grad, University of Utah. Most importantly, is that all I have left? Lagoon alumni, I better hurry. Nolan Bushnell, okay? He managed the nickel arcade down at Lagoon. He created Atari, took his knowledge of a mechanical arcade at Lagoon, University of Utah Electrical Engineering, the founder of the gaming industry as we know it, okay? Innovative. Innovative in service. Les Schwab, they do something different. They run out and provide that service. Marketing, Willett Blend, Tom Dixon, good friend, has a company that had cool blenders, and as he tried to market them, he just sold them to corporations. He figured out that he could do a cool marketing campaign. Everybody's familiar with that. He blends iPads in his blender. Okay. So where do these sources of innovation come from? People, friends, magazines. That's where innovation comes from. An example for us, one that we came up with my team just a little while ago, is we kept hearing, I eat too much. So over the past 6 months or so, we created the Poco Tinsel. Portion control utensil. Okay? It measures every bite. It times the time between your bites and tells you when to eat and not to eat. Okay? Who knows if it'll work, but it's an innovation, right? Okay. Secondly, create margin. Margin is as simple as putting a couple of pretty girls behind a counter with a scoop and doing something that you can do in your own kitchen. Okay? And charging you a premium for that. It's margin. So many examples of that. You buy it in your bottled water. An attorney provides it. A used car salesman provides it. A plumber provides it. They provide a service more than you are willing to do it on yourself because there's a value. A farmer does it, and even a lemonade stand does it. That's margin. So ideas and trends that you should watch for in looking for innovation and creating margin. These are trends that are taking place in the world today. Globalization, nanotechnologies, aging of the US populace. I'm hurrying along here because my time's up. And the last couple slides, keys to entrepreneurial success. Number one, stay out of your comfort zone. If you're comfortable, you're not innovating, you're not creating margin. Never give up, okay? If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. When you think you're ready to quit, you're closer than you think. That temptation to quit will be greatest right before you succeed. Always be moving forward. The small improvements make up for huge advantages. Be quick to decide. I love this quote. Patton said, a good plan violently executed today is far away better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Number 6, measure everything of significance. Number 7, anything that is not managed will deteriorate. If you're looking for problems, look at the area you don't know about. 8, never expect life to be fair. Okay? It'll always be unfair. Don't take yourself too seriously. What's the worst that can happen? Right? My mom and dad would let me move back into their basement. Okay? There's always a reason to smile. Find it. After all, you're lucky to just be alive. Life is short. Live it to the fullest. The last 2 points. An observation I find, is, and it tends to be pretty prominent here in Utah with entrepreneurs, is number 1, that there's this scarcity mentality, that the bucket of wealth that exists out there is limited, okay? That there's a jealousy when somebody succeeds in entrepreneurism. I would propose that that shouldn't be the way. that well of wealth is bubbling over. It's hard work to get there, but just because somebody else goes and fills up their bucket doesn't mean that that takes your potential away, okay? And that's what the NorthFront Alliance is about, is helping each other. The other one is crabs in a bucket. You know, there's some symbolism there to that anecdote of you put crabs in a bucket, one reaches out to pull itself out, and all the other crabs grab onto it, pull it down because they're trying to get out, and none of them can escape. That tends to happen. Sometimes entrepreneurs kind of pull each other down. That's it. My invitation to you today is that you seize the opportunity. I believe in entrepreneurism. I believe that it's the only way that we can create true wealth and provide for those that are less needy and enjoy those things that we're entitled to. With that, thank you. Okay. I went a little over, so we do have a couple minutes for some questions. Any questions? Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, you get to see a lot of different books or different philosophies about what's the limit. And if you're my age, you've seen millions of them, and sometimes it's hard to measure those. What's your take on like the lean startup and all those kind of things that are out there right now that seem to be really good things, but in my mind, they haven't been proven yet? Like, how do you know which one of those are out there?
So my assessment of that is somewhat similar to yours. I've seen them over and over again. I'm a student of manufacturing, for example, because my last two companies are manufacturing companies. Lean startup is just regurgitated, okay? The same thing, I forget what it was,
lean manufacturing.
Yeah, lean manufacturing, lean process, et cetera. The same thing happened 25 years ago. Same thing happens in styles, right? Pulled up collars and topsiders are back in. I'm 83, I'm there, right? It's all over again. But so I believe that that's the same way with a lot of the management practices. You know, I think that the internet has certainly flattened the knowledge, but I don't know that there's that much innovation, especially in manufacturing or things like that. The innovation is in communication, right? Again, when I was at IBM, I started my career making phone calls, sending letters, and sending fax, right? I remember starting to use email thinking, this is crazy. Not many people have email, right? And now we all get 75, 85 emails a day. So I think that communication is the only thing that's really changing. Yeah?
You invested in 11 out of 1,200.
Yeah.
What was it? What was the common denominator in those? Was it a certain sector, or was it a certain?
It wasn't. It was more that I was convinced. My style is I'm an engaged angel investor. I don't want to go run a company, but I want to be able to go in and help resolve the problems and look for areas that I can provide additional value rather than just money. So I go on trips with my investments. Okay, I make more investment pitches for my companies than the management team does. And I'm not offensive that way. We've all synced up, those that had technology. I orient towards innovation rather than margin, by the way. So it has to be innovative. It has to be something that could be potentially patented. So I love devices, for example. If you couldn't tell, Poco Tinsel. Any other questions?
How was that new, by the way? When they launched?
You want to buy one? No, it's a concept still, but hardware design's done, it works. And, I don't know. It's fun to play around with. Well, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Brad. We have some Rocky Mountain chocolate, fine chocolate here, so you can put your Poco Tinsel to use.
Try it right there.
Thanks for coming. Yep. Okay, next we're going to get in the weeds and hear from Jonathan Lund. He's CEO of Garafa.
Middle's the laser.
Okay. I'll stick with the mic, I guess. This skips? All right. Hi, everybody. Okay, I was asked to talk about how to fast track an app for approval in the App Store. I don't know if that's what you guys are interested in, so I'm going to be a little flexible. I want to ask first, how many of you guys are involved in app development? Quite a few, okay. How many are potentially involved? How many interested? Okay, a couple more, all right. Well, let me tell you my story. and we'll kind of quickly go over the App Store stuff. I don't know that that's the most exciting topic to get you guys all fired up, but hopefully some of what I say is interesting and we'll get some good questions. So I got a mechanical engineering degree at BYU, did an MBA, and I went off and got a job doing jet engines. So I had a great job. Was managing a group in Provo that does engineering, and then the iPhone third-party app development was announced, and I'd always done software development on the side, just kind of for fun. And when I saw this come around, I recognized it as a huge opportunity to overcome the problem that I always had, which was once I developed something, how do I actually sell it to anybody? And so Apple was going to provide me with this massive distribution channel, and so it was an awesome opportunity. Everyone can kind of see that now, but at the time I had to do it on my own. I was able to do it without risking any extra money except for the cost of an iPhone. And so then eventually I started making more money than my day job, and I convinced one of the guys that worked there to quit and work with me. So that's what we did. So we created this company, Garafa. And on day one of the App Store, we had 2 of the apps of the 500 total apps. So that was pretty exciting. They were terrible apps, but regardless, we made $10,000 on a little loan calculator our first month. And the other one was a birthdays organizer, and I think it even did better than that, like $30,000 or something. So we were blown away. We thought, man, this might work, but we had a lot of, I'm married, I've got 6 children at this point. I had 4 at the time, I think. And so I wasn't up for a big risk, didn't want to drop the day job yet, wasn't sure about it. And so we kept working on the side, and we created an app called GPS Kit. And this was the very first app of its kind to do tracking, and it was $10. And here's what happened with GPS Kit. This is the number of units sold. And that's a couple-year period, but you can see the very beginning was amazing. It's $4,000 or $5,000 a day. It blew our minds, and we thought, wow, this may be legit. We may be able to do this. So you can see, you'll see a few spikes along that graph, and that's typically when we made an update. But you can kind of see a trend also with this graph that it kind of took a gradual decline to relatively nothing, compared to the beginning. So then the question was, we'd already quit our jobs by the time this started becoming too small to maintain our lifestyle and stuff. So the question was, how do we deal with this? How do we have long-term longevity? And so we did a few things. Contracting is one of them. We started picking up jobs for other people. There were a lot of medical device manufacturers who were interested in having in-house apps, so sales apps. And we picked up some really big customers, really impressive clients. And so we thought, wow, this is pretty legit as well. GPS Kit was still making money, and a lot of its customers were requesting that we had more advanced features. And some of them we realized were actually using this for their day job. They were going out and using this all day long. So we thought, well, they got to be willing to pay more than $10. So let's make them a professional grade app. And that's where GIS Kit and GIS Pro came out. Those are $99 and $299, which is kind of unheard of for apps. And it's been a slow thing for people to kind of accept that. But it's doing okay. And it's just a different category, and I think it's evolving. It's more of a business type purchase, bulk purchases. And so then we had some, now that we have a $300 product and we've got customers that rely on us for support and stuff, we had to keep the image that was what we do. That's, we're professionals of GIS. And so we still had all these other ideas of things that we wanted to do, games, fun little utilities. So we created another company called Sand Mountain Studios. And this little icon you're probably wondering about. Articulation Station is just an example of one of the fun contracts that we did. A lot more fun than the medical stuff. These This is a couple from Orem, spent over a year developing a speech therapy concept for an app. And we built it for them, and I don't know if they want me to share numbers or anything, but let's just say their payback period was less than a month, so it's probably a week and a half. But anyway, so it's a fun to tell success stories, and that was a great one. So as far as Sand Mountain goes, yeah, the idea was we want to do whatever we want with that, and the very first one that we did was called Quick Cam, and the idea was we wanted to be able to launch a camera and start recording a video faster than the built-in iPhone camera, because sometimes you had to toggle between the photo or video. And as we were doing that, we started messing around with some of the controls that we had, and we figured out we could actually get the iPhone to what they call overcrank, or record faster than it normally does, and we get it to record 60 frames per second. And this was really exciting. And so we created what we call Slow Pro. We entered a contest, business plan competition, which is awesome, and we got some money from that. And so here's its icon. And so it took 2 to 3 months, which was pretty good. And in the first 2 weeks, 400,000 downloads. We're up over this is only a couple weeks ago, so we're up over 500,000 now. And we're getting pretty good conversion rate, so that first 2 weeks was $20,000. And we were #1 in the entire App Store in Greece. And in our category, we were #1 in some bigger countries like Germany and Spain and Italy. And so it's a really exciting product for us, and it's kind of, we like to experiment with all the models. So we've tried the high price, like enterprise customer model, and with the GIS kit, and that I think is going to work out long term. But this is more of the freemium Instagram. Hopefully we get so many users that we become a platform that's valuable to other people, and possibly sell it off or use it to launch other apps. And that's these are all important, very calculated decisions that we've made for longevity. Yeah, question?
Slow Pro do.
Oh, so Slow Pro, when you shoot at 60 frames per second and then play it back at 30 frames per second, it's slow motion. So what's really exciting, I can't remember. Oh yeah, that's more exciting than that. But what's really exciting is we're just about done with version 2.0, and we've got software algorithms in there that we're running on the GPU. So it's fun, it's innovative, because we're doing something in an exciting way from a computer standpoint. But we're basically going to be able to achieve 1,000 frames per second within the app, and it's spectacular. The slow motion is just awesome. And so hopefully it's enough to get the press again, get a lot of attention, and drive our user base sky high. So yeah, the next steps, we're going to try to get it into kind of a platform type, more of a social network type stuff. We don't really want to create a social network, but we do want to make it so users can share with each other and stuff like that. So if you are interested in how to fast track an app for approval, I think the more important concepts of this are, how do you ensure that you build an app that is going to get approved? Because nothing would be worse, I think, than spending all your time building an app, and in particular with the iPhone. In the end, if it just isn't approved by Apple, then what do you do? So there are a few key points. They have posted all the rules, all the reasons why they would reject your app, and there are a lot of people that come to us with ideas, even ideas they're willing to pay us to do, and they don't realize that it doesn't fit within the bounds. So that's the first thing. As far as fast tracking something, you can get an app fast tracked, but Apple doesn't like it. They'll kind of slap your hand for it. And it's typically going to be on a version that you have like a nasty bug in a previous version or something like that. So we've done it before. So basically, the rest of the tips here are things that you should already do when you're doing an app. Is you should just have good design. It should make sense. It shouldn't crash. And there are a couple things that I don't know if they're in the rules, so I thought I'd mention them at least. If you say beta anywhere, they're not going to like it. And of course, don't use any undocumented APIs. And yeah, don't misuse their UI elements. Oh, and one more I didn't put in here, and that is to not promise anything in the future. I have seen apps that break these rules, but this is how, we haven't had an app rejected in a long time. So let's see. Yeah, pretty much said these things, so yeah, let's move to questions. Yes?
And only iPhone apps, why not Android? Is that different completely?
The code that we write is very specific to the iPhone. There are a lot of reasons why we don't do Android on the apps that we've done. It's a possibility for the type of app that SlowPro is, or any kind of platform where you're looking for a lot of users. As far as selling things, there's definitely more money passing through the iPhone or the iTunes App Store. And we're small enough that we don't have to capture all the demographics. We just need one that will pay and is big enough for us. So, yes.
So you're small enough. How big are you?
There are only 4 partners, and 3 of the partners are programmers. One's right here, Joe. He's a designer.
Hi, Joe. So your SlowPro, I mean, obviously you guys are going to use frame blending, right? So like Twixtor. Where did you find geeks to do that kind of stuff, where you're actually processing 2 images and figuring out the pixels in between? He's a geek, man.
Yeah, I'm the geek. So the question was, where did we get the technology to do the advanced frame blending, the optical flow? I'm the one who kind of was obsessed with the technology and figured out what we needed to do. We actually got a lot of help from UStar to get an intern from University of Utah, and he came up with the algorithm in less than 2 weeks. Literally a week and a half. He said, "What do you want me to do next?" And it was working. But of course, we did a lot of the foundation for that working. So yeah.
Are you able to protect the intellectual property?
Yeah, the question, are we able to protect the intellectual property? We never really thought that we could. Oh, we got a video going. This is our demo video of how you use SlowPro. So, since you can't hear it, basically he's setting start and end points of his slow motion. And now what he's going to do is change the speed that he wants it to play back. And what's really cool about SlowPro is you don't have to wait for it to render. It's immediate. So we are using a lot of software tricks. We are geeks. I'm a geek. And we love the technology. And yeah, question here? Yeah, you. Yep.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Did you do a lot of market research to kind of figure out where you're going to go with your apps, or did you just happen to have a gut where you were like, I know people will like this, and that's where we're going?
Our market research is skiing, usually. We go out and we try to have fun with our own products, and we try to immerse ourselves in the technology and read a lot. We definitely acknowledge that we could do a better job of marketing in general, but to answer your question, that's what we've done. Is just if it's really cool to us and we're willing to spend money on it, then probably other people are as well. So, yeah, question.
You're selling through the App Store. They make money off each sales too, don't they?
Yes. So Apple keeps 30% of every sale, and some people criticize them for that, and we feel like it's a really good deal to get that kind of sales channel. We sell half of our products outside of the U.S., and that would never happen if it were just us selling it. So, yes.
How long is the typical approval time for an app?
It's about a week. Yeah. I think that's our time. So, thanks.
Same chocolate as before. The next prize will be different. Okay, the next person we're going to hear from is David Baum, CEO of BladePad. And to kick off his presentation, he's going to give 3 pieces of advice to new entrepreneurs.
I didn't realize I was supposed to memorize those.
And, well, I have the cheat sheet. There you go.
Okay, great. Yeah, so as I said, my name is David Baum. I'm CEO of BladePad. So let's see what I wrote down. Okay. Yeah, so first of all, I mean, my advice would be just to find something you're really passionate about. Had a lot of late nights, this week in particular, you know, up till 3 a.m., 4 a.m., then still got to go to work in the morning. So, you know, if you don't have something you're passionate about, you can't do that. You want that kind of fuel. So it's really important to have that passion so you can actually get your idea, you know, to actually make it happen. Another thing is just, you know, building your business model based off of validation, market validation from consumers, basically from every standpoint of your business. You know, if you, you know, kind of take a guess at what distribution channels will be right for your business, go out and validate it. Go out and talk to customers, see if they'll buy from those distribution channels. Go out and see if those channels will actually be your partners. And then last of all, just trust your gut. You know, other people will validate, but it's up to you to innovate. And so you really have to, you know, really gotta just trust your gut and know that if you have a good idea, you know, ultimately you'll make the right decision. So with that, go ahead and go into our presentation. All right, so BladePad. So BladePad's in the mobile gaming industry, and we have a video. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but basically, you know, the iPhone has these really advanced apps coming out, just like our last presenter showed. And you know, the #1 type of apps that are downloaded is games. For iPhone, it's 82% of all apps downloaded are games. And so they're starting to get, you know, 3D games like first-person shooters, console-style games that are very impressive. But unfortunately, you can't really use a touchscreen to control some of these games. So you need like a console controller. And so let's see if this video works. But we actually contacted a bunch of popular YouTube game reviewers, and we surveyed them, we interviewed them about their experience using the touchscreen and what they'd like to solve this problem. So we'll see if this works. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess it's not going to work anyway. So that video is mostly just, you know, it's a bunch of gamers complaining about how awful the touchscreen controls are. Just, you know, saying things like, oh, this game's perfect, but the controls are awful. Oh, I wish there was a controller for this. And so, you know, the usual, just complaining. So, you know, I'm sure you're thinking, oh, you know, boo-hoo, a bunch of poor nerds. But the fact is, this is a very marketable frustration they have. You know, these games are great, they're amazing, but just no one wants to play them. No one wants to play some of these games where, you know, you have to use these virtual joysticks where you're moving your fingers around and you can't feel anything. People really respond to that tactile control. So we developed BladePad, which is it's a razor-thin gamepad for your iPhone, essentially. Here you see it has 2 joysticks in the middle and then multiple control buttons. It just slides right out from underneath your iPhone. Let's do a quick demo. So it's essentially a protective case for your iPhone. Put your phone in the case, and then a gamepad slides out. And so here's actually, we have a prototype that is in development currently. You know, it's not functional yet, but we're working on it, making some design changes. There's the bumper buttons at the top. Our manufacturer didn't quite get it right and kind of mixed the buttons up, but we're working on that. And then one of the keys also is just the raised feel to the joysticks. You know, we've gone through, we've talked to a lot of customers and really validated the key features of this product. The last key feature, I'll show you on the prototype, is that this is the gamepad's actually detachable from the case. So here, you know, you have your BladePad, play your games, but this is a little bit bulky. And so one thing we found out was that this has appeal to the casual gamer market, but it can't be too bulky. So we actually made it detachable, where you can just take this off, put it in your bag, leave it at home. You have a nice case with a smooth back. And so, you know, that's one of the innovations of this product that we really had to validate and you know, make sure it was what customers wanted. So yeah, the smooth back on the case. So here's what some of the customers who we talked with are saying about this product. Yes, this is exactly what would make mobile gaming on smartphones epic. Genius, this would make me go out and buy a touch phone today. Best idea I've seen in a long time. And lastly, I think this product fills a serious, I think this product is creative and fills a serious need for better controls in touchscreen gaming. Out of those YouTube reviewers that we interviewed, they gave the product an average 9.1 out of 10 rating. We have 124 customers who are waiting to buy as soon as we get this product out. So quickly, we'll talk about our business model and how we make money. So we have a wholesale price of $46, actually $45. Our landed unit cost, basically to get the product manufactured, packaging, product liability insurance, freight, everything to get it over here is $22. That still leaves us with, at $45 wholesale, a 51% margin. So, fairly good for a hardware company.
What would your MSRP be on that then?
Yeah, we're looking at $90. So retailers expect between 50 and 70%. So hopefully we can bring down that unit cost. We've also established some relationships with major game developers and some independent studios as well. In terms of major developers, we're actually closing a deal with one of the major game developers to include a game in our packaging. And so that's been very exciting to us. And then we also have connections, existing relationships with buyers at Best Buy, Amazon, Walmart, Target, and 5 For You, which is a distributor in Benelux. We're actually looking to raise money right now. So I guess they told me to ask for help. So that's kind of the help that we're looking for. We have enough to to develop the product, get a fully working prototype, probably by about mid-September. But we're really looking to fund production. We are looking at potentially launching on Kickstarter by the end of the month or next month. But we'd also be very interested in working with some local investors. So that's our company. Thank you very much for listening. So I guess there's 7 minutes of questions, right?
Yep.
So feel free. Any questions? Yeah.
Have you thought of a battery? Because the iPhone battery, that's the one thing I noticed is if you're a gamer, you're going to burn your battery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're going to put a thin one on the back and make that an option?
So it connects, it connects through Bluetooth. So the gamepad actually has its own battery. And so we're looking at using a newer version of Bluetooth, which is low energy. So, we'll see if we can pack enough battery in there right now, but as is, we can have enough battery to support the actual gamepad. But adding any more to that's going to make this a thicker device, and so just in validation, it's got to stay as thin as possible. So we'll see, maybe in the future. But
can you not use the native port on the iPhone, so you're not dealing with additional power requirements with wireless?
Yeah. So actually. That's one of the things we validated as well, is there's a strong interest for a Bluetooth accessory. Another problem with that, why we wouldn't even go that route, is you need Apple approval to gain access to their dock. Typically with Bluetooth you need Apple approval as well, but with the release of Bluetooth 4.0 you can actually make an accessory now that connects to iOS without needing Apple approval. So that's really what's made this product possible. That's essentially why there isn't something like this already. So. Yeah.
Do you know of any competitors who are racing to get a product similar to this on the market?
I'm sure they're out there. We're not aware of any currently, but at CES in January, this past January, a lot of smaller competitors popped up. Ones just trying to products that are kind of big, bulky units, don't have joysticks. Kind of a nice try at solving the pain of touchscreen controls, but not really quite there. No support from major game developers. So those are coming. Not all are on the market yet, but announced in January. So we'll see. But yep. So any more questions?
Let's turn the tables. Oh, we have one more question. Sorry.
Oh, you said you were going to bundle an app with it?
Yeah.
How is that going to work?
Yeah, so Apple actually just recently is rolling out a way to distribute promotion codes. And so they'll supply the developer with promotion codes at high volume, of course. And then essentially they form a contract with the developer forms a contract with us and sells us those promotion codes. So they can offer us a discounted price, and then we bundle it with our product. So.
Who has advice for him? Try to turn the table at the end of the Q&A to use up the time effectively.
Yeah.
When people play with your game there, where does it sit?
How do you mean?
You're using both hands to use the control.
Mm-hmm.
Where do the game pad?
It just slides out, so you can just hold it, play. Does that? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, you have to take it off.
When you take it off, you can take it off. It connects through Bluetooth.
Take it off and still use the game.
To take off the phone and still use it? Yeah, it's Bluetooth. Yeah, yeah. You could toss this across the room and still use it if you wanted. So.
Some people, it's just you're hunched over like this.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something you like a stand and hold up here?
We've kind of hesitated from doing something like that because, you know, typically you don't want two different devices. Maybe for the iPad that would make sense, but you know, something like this is just like a PSP. It's like a portable handheld console essentially, and that's what we're going after. We're going after the PS Vita, the Nintendo 3DS. That's what we're going after because those are expensive. You're going to pay, you know, between $130 and $400 for a little portable console, and the games are between $20 and $50. Whereas, you know, this is $90. You're already gonna have a phone, so this is half the price of those consoles. Games are a 20th of the price sometimes. You know, $1 to $10 for a game. So we're basically going after replacing those consoles. But.
Any other advice for him? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I'll give you your ramen noodles at the end. Can I get this one?
Oh yeah.
Okay, next presenter is Jake Hall, the founder of Promotus. And don't worry, Jake, I got your cheat sheet. Jake has some wisdom for us as well. I need to clip this on you too. Okay.
My name's Jake. I'm founder of Promotus. You got some slides? Oh, it's ready.
Yeah.
So likewise, I was also asked to give 3 points of advice, and given that I'm way too new at this to feel comfortable offering advice, I'll just tell you 3 things I've learned, and probably more so that I've observed from other people. And I think the best way to do that is to tell you the story of how this came about. And this starts with skiing, similar maybe to the app we just saw. And what happened is I'm a product designer. My background's in industrial design. I've designed ski boots and snowboard bindings and all kinds of stuff in the outdoor industry, as well as consumer electronics and a couple other industries. And a while back, actually about 8 years ago, I had a really nasty knee injury skiing, and I had to have many surgeries to try to repair this. And along the way, I developed this really serious range of motion lack. My knee just locked up. I had this kind of rare condition where my knee just locked up after the first surgery, and it took 6 consecutive surgeries and a lot of therapy to try to fix this. Along the way, I tried all these different devices that are meant to facilitate range of motion, and none of them worked. They're all very, very expensive, anywhere from $800 to $10,000 or something like that. I tried all these, none of them worked. Being a designer, I created my own device. I had this little spark of an idea, which is, I think, often the way these things start. You just have that little nugget of an idea that you need to nurture and foster, which I did. And I made, that last slide didn't come in. This device, we're missing a slide, but this one shows it. I made this really simple device that helps facilitate range of motion and helps you stretch and extension. It was really simple. Initially, I just made it for myself. I didn't really intend to do anything with it. I was actually pretty busy at the time. But I made this thing, I started using it. And around this time, I started seeing a doctor in Colorado. His name's Dr. Stedman, and he's sort of the go-to surgeon for professional athletes, and he's a world-renowned surgeon. He's pioneered many of the common procedures that, that surgeons do now. So when I was out seeing him, I showed him this to make sure it was okay that I use it on myself. He saw it and he said, "Where'd you get this and where can I get one?" And really that moment is where the company started, because I didn't realize how much of a need there was for something like this. And it turns out that there is a huge need. There's last year there were, or 2 years ago, there were over nearly 700,000 total knee surgeries done. And a high percentage of total knee surgeries have range of motion issues. And this number goes up pretty quickly because of all the baby boomers that are getting total knee surgeries. So it turns out there's a pretty significant need for this thing. So I began to pursue it more seriously. Dr. Stedman invested a little bit, and he and I pursued this. You know, one of the keys to really getting going is to just get a prototype, just get something that works. Even if it's crude in the beginning, my first prototype was really crude. I wasn't even planning on showing it to anyone, but I was able to just start using it, and it, even for myself, even if you're excited about something, just getting something and using it really gets you going. So it turns out there's a big need for this thing, and we've been wading through federal regulations. So my background was in consumer products. Medical devices is kind of a whole different ballgame, which I've learned a lot about in the past couple years. And the type of FDA approval that we need for this device is as easy as it gets, but there's still many hoops you need to jump through. In addition to that, ultimately you're trying to get insurance to pay for it, not a consumer. So there's a lot of testing that needs to occur to get insurance to reimburse for something like this. So that's actually the phase we're in now. We've got about 20 units out in physical therapy clinics and with surgeons. Some of the top surgeons in the world actually have been using this thing. We've got, it was kind of wild, I got a phone call from one of the clinics saying, "We got this professional baseball player that can't live without this thing, can we send him home?" Because we were just using him in clinics. So I said, "Yeah, sure, let's send him one." And so he's been using it, and there's actually a handful of professional athletes that have a similar issue that I had with my knee that have been using this thing. But right now we're going through this testing phase with the idea that coming out of this we can get insurance reimbursement and do more of a hard launch with this. And then, back to the three things I've learned. The first is that I really think that when you start something, you need to sell the story, not just the product, especially getting going. That probably changes down the road. But people I found that are they're as interested or maybe more interested in why you're doing something as opposed to just what you're doing or how you're doing it. If you just start talking about what it is you're doing, people can tune out pretty quickly. But if you're passionate about it and you tell them why you're doing it, I think people are really interested in that. And to date, I really haven't asked anyone for anything, which I guess I'm really lucky that way. We did the concept to company like last year, I guess, last fall, that we ended up winning, which was really nice. And Dr. Stedman's interest and his acquaintances and people here in Utah have really helped us out. And I think that relates back to just having a passion. And there's a reason I'm doing this. It's not just to try to make money. I really do think that there's a need for this type of thing, and it's a serious problem that we're trying to fix. So passion, and we've already heard that tonight, which goes perfectly with the three observations that I've made. The other two things are a bit more simple, which is find the best partners possible. If you've got something great, you need great partners. And in my case, I've ended up with some really great partners that I'm lucky to have. That's it. Yeah, thanks for your time and take your questions. Yeah.
Is this a class 1 device? Is that what you're
It is.
And how long has it been since you started to go through the process? Where are you at in the FDA approval thing?
Okay, so I think you all heard that. It's pretty loud. The question is how's it classified and where are we at? This device is a class 1. There's 3 classes of medical devices. Class 1 is the most simple. As you get upwards, you can imagine like a pacemaker or something like that. That basically what it has to do is what are the ramifications if that device fails. In our case, the ramifications are relatively low because you're stretching, and if the device breaks or fails, you just quit stretching. So it's pretty low. I found a really great consultant in Salt Lake. Medical industry is pretty big in Utah, so there have been a lot of knowledgeable people that have been helping me out. So he was able to kind of help me navigate through that. So we actually don't need approval from the FDA, but there are still a lot of hoops that you have to jump through to be able to start selling. And that's the process we're in now. So we're actually not selling them now, we're testing them. And so it won't take much to be able to start selling them, but I don't want to just start selling one-offs of this thing. I want to be able to go in there, get insurance reimbursement, and talk to the big guys right off.
How's it work?
Let's see, this is a pretty good slide. So it's really, really simple. Basically, this provides a lever to be able to stretch your knee. You cannot passively stretch your own knee in extension, which sounds really simple, but you need to actuate your muscles, and you can't generate very much force stretching your own knee in extension. So I was going into physical therapy twice a day, 5 days a week, which is kind of crazy for those of you that have been to physical therapy, which is probably everyone. Usually go a couple times a week. And basically I got tired of going into physical therapy. So what this does is it just simply applies a force to your knee and then supports your heel so that you can stretch an extension. You can also, let me flip back, you can just sit and passively rotate your leg, which is also very helpful. After total knee surgeries, they'll put you on a continuous passive motion device, which just kind of rocks your leg through its motion. And so you can also do that with this manually.
Does this help with flexing the knee?
It doesn't help with flexion, but so flexion is, extension is straight, flexion is bending. With flexion, it's really easy to do stretches on your own. So I was able to do those. You can just, they call it a prayer stretch, like you'd kneel like you're praying, and you can stretch in flexion. So you don't really need help with that. Or you don't need a device anyway. Yeah.
What about IP? How does that work?
So what happened is I filed, like I said, when Dr. Stedman wanted to work with me on this, we immediately filed a provisional patent, and then the year came up, we filed a full utility patent. That was maybe 6 months ago or something. So we have a pretty good patent in place. There are existing devices, but they're dissimilar enough that we're able to get a pretty good patent. So we feel confident about that. In fact, they said to ask for help, and so I'll throw this in right now, is that we just very, very recently, we may have an opportunity to work with a large established medical device company. We were gearing up as if we were doing this on our own, but always reserving the option to work with someone if that presented itself, and it may have presented itself. So, one thing I'm looking for is how to put a value on something like this. We haven't really had investors. We hadn't had to do like serious valuations. We've done some kind of, I had someone do some forecasts to try to figure out what this thing could do in volume. But other than that, we need to work up some value as well as good, hard negotiating if this thing comes to fruition. Is there another question? I saw another hand go up. Yeah.
My question was on international patents. Have you pursued this at all?
We filed a PCT, which reserves us the right to file in every country that's part of that treaty, which I think is most of them. So that buys us, I think we have about another year to file in individual countries. And that's a tough one. You know, total knees, if I remember correctly, of all the total knees done in the world, about, I think it was close to half are done in the United States. So they're much more popular here. But there is obviously a big international market. It's becoming more and more popular in Asia. There's the whole surgery outsourcing thing. You know, people are traveling to other countries to get surgery. So we're hoping to get patents in other countries as well. Yeah?
What is the outright cost for something like this right now?
So the question was, what's the cost? That right now, in prototyping quantities, we make them for about $350, which is a lot. We've had estimates. I've been to Asia maybe 15 times or so. So I have some experience with Asian manufacturing. And I had a guy I've worked with that lives in Asia, does a lot of stores. I had him to take a look at it. He thinks they can make it for about $100 in large quantity. And it'll sell, we're actually working on pricing right now. We think it'll be about $1,200. And insurance may or may not reimburse for that amount. They kind of decide, but it'll be somewhere in there. Other questions, comments? Yeah?
Can we ask what it's made of?
It's aluminum. This is all aluminum. It's anodized aluminum. We're actually working on a plastic version. We want to have a really burly version that would be used like as a rental. Rental's somewhat common in medical rehab. And then we would have a kind of cheaper disposable version for like short term. Some people have a chronic issue, some people have a short term issue, so we're kind of trying to address both of those.
I'm trying to develop a medical device.
What's that?
I'm trying to develop a medical device.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we should talk.
One of the things that I'm researching now is the procedures, the protocols that different nursing homes and hospitals use to clean and keep things sanitized. Is there an engineering resource that you've got, say like a plastics liable that you would describe which are approved by the RFP and the federal?
That's a good question. The question is if there's you said a Bible that approved plastics by FDA. I don't know the exact answer, but maybe we could talk after because I may be able to point you to someone that could help you out.
Okay. Any advice for Jake when we switch? No? Okay.